The applicant has regrettably put before the court a profoundly distorted factual and legal picture. The entirety of its case hinges on a deliberately curated, decontextualized, and manipulative description of the reality of current hostilities. South Africa purports to come to this court in the lofty position of a guardian of the interest of humanity. But in delegitimizing Israel's 75-year existence in its opening presentation yesterday, that broad commitment to humanity rang hollow.
Jordan is something
I mean, the square was fine, but
So first, just to be clear, what is Human Rights Watch's view of South Africa's case that they made this morning, number one?
So first, I want to begin with what 2023 showed us, that the system we rely on to protect the human rights of people everywhere is under threat. Every time a government overlooks or rejects the universal and globally accepted laws and principles, someone pays a price. In freedoms, in liberties, in their health or livelihoods, and at times with their lives. We see it in Israel and Palestine, where renewed hostilities following the October 7th attacks in Israel intensified a human rights and humanitarian crisis. The atrocities of Hamas-led fighters, including the deliberate killing of hundreds of civilians and the taking of more than 200 people hostage, was a terrifying assault. Many governments quickly and justifiably condemned the unlawful killings and hostage-taking by Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups. But following the attacks, the Israeli government sealed the crossings into Gaza and unlawfully blocked the entrance of food, fuel, and humanitarian aid to Gaza's 2.3 million population. Israeli bombardments have killed thousands of civilians, including thousands of children, and reduced entire neighborhoods to rubble. And it's displaced the majority of Gaza's population. Selective outrage about grave abuses sends a dangerous message that some people's lives and dignity matter more than others. And this shakes the legitimacy of the systems of rules that we rely on to protect everyone's rights. Last month, South Africa asked the International Court of Justice to determine whether Israel violated its obligations under the 1948 Genocide Convention in its military operations in Gaza. And today, the ICJ judges in The Hague are hearing arguments to determine whether to grant South Africa's request for provisional measures directing Israel to cease acts that could violate the Genocide Convention. And obviously, Israel will appear before the court tomorrow. South Africa's leadership to address the human rights crisis in Palestine shows us what is possible when governments step up to protect civilians. The challenge and the urgency is for all governments to apply the human rights framework consistently in a principled manner, no matter who the perpetrator or the victim. South Africa is essentially asking the court to determine if Israel's military operations in Gaza have resulted in violations of the 1948 Genocide Convention, and if they've failed to prevent genocide. And the situation on the ground is so grave that it does merit the court's scrutiny. and Human Rights Watch welcomes this case. We support that, and we think that other countries and other states, including the United States, should support and ensure that Israel complies with the court's decisions. Ignoring human rights and the rule of law in diplomacy squanders opportunities to influence the practices and policies of rights-violating governments. And it also risks emboldening these repressive governments to export their abuses. And we saw this in 2023.
Number two, if the court decides on provisional measures, what then are the obligations of the various parties here, particularly here at the UN?